Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Wednesday. It is match day, of course. The final game of the Champions League phase takes place a little bit later on tonight. Going to be a crazy night of football. Everyone kicking off at the same time. I think this is the sort of night that UEFA dreamt about, really, when they created this new Champions League format. It's going to be mad to watch. There's going to be teams dropping about 8 places with 1 goal being scored until basically the last second of the games. We're not going to know who finishes where. So it is all set to be an absolutely mental, crazy night. So really looking forward to that. Obviously, I'm not in Spain. I haven't travelled to Girona for this one. I'll be watching it later on at my dad's house. So I'm not in Spain, but I will be here in the morning doing my in-depth preview show, of course. So first up, after the game tonight, you want to get involved in that preview show, come back to this video, leave your comments about what you've seen, what you're happy with, what's impressed you, who was the star man, anything like that. And I'll pull them together as always and include some of them in tomorrow's show. Right, we are going to talk about the Girona game a little bit later on. Mikel had his press conference yesterday. He spoke about the possibility of rotating players, all that. I'll do my predicted 11. I've got some of your 11s that you want to see tonight. So we are going to get onto that. But, of course, the big news since my last show was that the FA announced yesterday that the independent regulatory, I always get that word wrong, commission has upheld a claim of wrongful dismissal from Arsenal in relation to Myles Lewis-Skelly and has removed his 3-match suspension. Hallelujah. Someone actually knows what they're doing. The Arsenal player was sent off for serious foul play during the Premier League fixture against Wolves on Saturday, 25th of January, 2025. So that was a statement released yesterday afternoon. And it was the only statement that could possibly come because we all know what an absolute car crash of a decision it was for Mikel Arteta to send off Myles Lewis-Skelly at the weekend. We all know what an unbelievably cowardly decision it was by VAR, Darren England, not to send Mikel Arteta over to the screen to review what was a clear and obvious error. We all know what an absolute sham it was that PGMOL have since backed that decision, refused to back down and didn't rescind the red card, which meant that Arsenal had to go to this appeal process to an independent commission, who, of course, like everyone else on the planet who saw that incident, realised that Mikel Arteta had made a big error and that he shouldn't have sent Lewis-Skelly off and that he should not be banned for the next 3 games. What an absolute embarrassment this has been to PGMOL and Howard Webb. They're basically, I mean, when you literally think about how stupid they look from this, these are the guys who are supposedly in charge of ensuring the rules of the game are followed. And yet here, when you break it down simply, they have made, one of their officials has made a wrong decision. Another one has failed to send into VAR. And then to make matters worse, the actual body itself, the organisation itself, have come down and backed what was clearly an incorrect decision. They're going against everything that they stand for. They're going against the rules of the game that are there for everyone to see and that they make their officials try and follow in every single game. And yet they're backing a wrong decision that everyone could see with one replay was wrong. And it takes it going to an independent commission, someone out, a body out of their hands, to say it was wrong and to throw it out the window almost immediately as soon as they see it and to reinstate Lewis-Skelly. It's an absolute embarrassment to PGMOL. And if this isn't a sort of watershed moment in how they operate, I don't know what is, because they've got something so clearly wrong. And instead of holding their hands up and accepting their error that everyone could see, they doubled down and, backed their mistake, a clear mistake. It's an absolute sham. It's an absolute embarrassment. And it should lead to some sort of overhaul in how things operate there, because they're clearly showing themselves up for not being fit for purpose with this incident. It's absolute embarrassment. It really, really is. And honestly, if Howard Webb goes on that absolutely awful show with Michael Owen soon, Mike Tuff or whatever it's called, and tries to back this decision up again, I just don't know what I'm going to say at that point, because this is, if anything has painted a picture of how ridiculously awful PGMOL are in their current guise, then this is it. It's a shambles, absolute shambles. Oh, What way to start the morning with a rant? But hey, Mikel was obviously asked about it yesterday. The press conference when he arrived in Girona came just about an hour after the announcement had taken place that Lewis-Skelly's ban had been overturned. Mikel actually said that when he got the news, he was on the plane on the way over there. He turned around to tell Lewis-Skelly, but he was asleep, so he didn't tell him. But yeah, on this ban, on Lewis-Skelly having his ban revoked, he said, "We're very happy with that decision has been made. Myles is going to be able to play for us again in the next 3 games." On whether winning Myles' appeal so soon after it was lodged showed anything, which clearly it did, but Mikel obviously didn't want to get stuck into that. He just says, "I don't know, I'm not an expert in the field. The club has put all the evidence and everything it could put together to defend our position, and it is pretty fast. It's good to know," basically. That's helpful. I bet inside he's just thinking, "You absolute bunch of idiots." He must be. Arsenal must be. When they talk about the sort of evidence that they put together, they honestly didn't even need to put any evidence together. They just needed to say, "Watch the replay." That was all the evidence anyone with a sane mind needed to know that that was never a red card and it was an obvious error from the referee and from VAR, and that Myles Lewis-Skelly should not be banned for the game. I mean, he very much held his tongue. He spoke very well about the abuse. And of course, the abuse to Michael Oliver and everyone is wrong. It is absolutely wrong. And if anyone is sending abuse to officials, then, as I said yesterday, they absolutely need their head check. But I still look at the way this has all been handled with so much suspicion about everything that PGMOL do now, because they've proven themselves to be liars here, basically. They knew this decision was wrong. It was so obvious this decision was wrong, and yet they doubled down and refused to accept their responsibility. They lied, basically. So how do we have any sort of trust in what they've put out since then, with the statement about the abuse that no one's seen because Michael Oliver's not on social media? How do we know this abuse came from Arsenal fans, first of all? And that's not waiving any sort of responsibility. But the statement that also came out about the abuse was that this has been going on since the Manchester United versus Liverpool game, when there was threats sent to Michael Oliver about a car bomb or something like that. And yet there was no statement put out then. So why did they choose to put a statement out now? Because they knew that they'd made a huge error and it was trying to deflect attention away from it. I have no trust in how they've handled this and what's come out since then. The David Coote interview that comes out as soon as this happens, is that deflecting attention? Why now? I just have absolutely no faith left in the system that is PGMOL, and it's their own fault that so many other people have basically lost all faith in how they operate and run officials in this game. I just struggle to have any belief left in them whatsoever. But obviously, Mikel Arteta is very, very happy. And Myles Lewis-Skelly, once he woke up on the plane, I'm sure he was very, very happy. And it's a big relief to Arsenal. If you'd have been without Lewis-Skelly for the next 3 games, that'd have been a massive, massive blow. Yes, they've got about 5 million left back. So it's the one position you could probably do without a player at the moment if you're Arsenal, when you're from Mikel Arteta. But still, it just means putting extra load in other players. And Lewis-Skelly, to be fair, has basically made himself first choice left back, even with Calafiori's sort of match winning cameo when he came on at the weekend against Wolves. Lewis-Skelly has got that position at the moment because he's played so well in it. So you want him involved for these big games they've got coming up. You've got Manchester City, you've got Newcastle semi-final at St James's Park, really big games. So you want Lewis-Skelly involved. So it's a big boost for Arsenal as well that he is available, and that the Independent Commission have seen sense, unlike some others in this whole sorry episode. Right, this is what some of you guys have had to say. Naira at the top there says, "I've been an avid follower of your channel for a few years, and you're able to give level-headed view, which is very rare in today's instant social media age. Thank you very much. I do my best. It's great that MLS Red was overturned by an independent body. Should such a body not do VAR in the first place to ensure proper segregation of duties from on-field refs?" I think that's a great point. Why is VAR just refs and their mates? Should it not be an independent body? Should they not then take the decisions out, so they're not worried about sending their mate to the screen and embarrassing their mate, who they then later have to go and see at a dinner or at some PGMOL event? Is that not the best way to go here? Because the refs who are doing it are clearly not doing it right. So why don't we go to an independent commission, train up people outside of PGMOL, outside of referees, to do this job for them? I think it's a really, really good point, and it would then sort of negate the feeling of suspicion that surrounds VAR and why they're not sending officials to the screens. Nasho below says the decision by the FA today says a lot about PGMOL. Howard Webb and VAR had the opportunity to help Michael Oliver, but they failed him. They instead opted to back their mate's poor decision, which at least 80% of the football community believes is wrong, leaving them look like a circus. Absolutely well said. I didn't believe in the conspiracies against Arsenal, but after this and other costly refereeing decisions this season, I'm starting to shift my beliefs, as I do see a bias against Arsenal. I wouldn't call it corruption, as the evidence of financial gain is minimal, but I certainly think there is a bias. I eagerly await to see if Arsenal ends the season being the only team that gets booked for kicking the ball away. As it stands, Arsenal 2, everyone else 0. Yeah, I do wonder what Arsenal, what the sort of fallout from this could be in terms of how Arsenal are going to be viewed by PGMOL. We know, or we've got a fairly good idea that PGMOL and referee do not really like Arsenal and do not really like Mikel Arteta. You know, he's embarrassed them after that game at Newcastle last year when he said what he said, and then you know, Arsenal were cleared of any incident. Mikel wasn't banned. He embarrassed them then, and Arsenal have embarrassed them again now. So is that going to come back and hit Arsenal? That is a fear. It has to be said when it comes to how referees are going to handle their games going forward. Fingers crossed they can actually do their jobs and we don't have to worry about that. Yevon Wonder says, hey, Charles, great news about LMLS being rescinded, but oh my God, the PGMOL is an absolute joke. Amidst all the fallout, they haven't admitted they got it wrong, got anything wrong. How could an organisation operate well without some level of accountability? Did you find it weird, though, that the David Coote stuff suddenly came out in the middle of the whole thing? Level of officiating in EPL. It was a convenient deflection tactic. If it was, they should be ashamed in the organisation because the guy needs help, not being thrown to the media to cover up a mistake of the incompetent referee and Michael Oliver. Couldn't say it better myself. Absolutely. So thank you very much, everyone, for getting involved. Right, let's move away from that for now, shall we, and focus on the football, because there is a big game tonight, an interesting game as well, because of Arsenal's position in the Champions League, the fact that they're pretty much guaranteed, I think it's a 0.01% chance that they will not finish in the top 8, whatever the result tonight. So they are basically there. They're all but mathematically certain to be there. So what do you do if you're Mikel Arteta in this position? Who do you play? Who do you rotate? Who do you leave out? Who do you rest? Especially with those games against Manchester City and Newcastle to come next week. You can see, if you're watching on YouTube, some of the pictures of the squad flying. It's a full squad that's gone out there. A couple of youngsters have gone. I think Nathan Adeji has gone. I think there was another youngster as well. The two young keepers have gone. So Porsa and Setford. I think there was another youngster who went. I can't remember who it is now. But other than that, it's a strong squad. It's a full first team senior squad who have got the plane over to Girona. Mikel was speaking at the press conference yesterday, and obviously, aside from the referees and Myles Lewis-Skelly, he was asked about the game itself. On whether he'll select a strong team or rotate. He said, we're here to win the game, and in order to do that, we're going to have to be better than them. They're a really good side. If you look at the games they played in the Champions League against top opposition, they've made life very difficult for them. So tomorrow it'll be a very strong team in order to achieve what we want to do, because mathematically the qualifying at the moment is uncertain. So Mikel's saying there he's going to go very strong. On Havertz potentially having a breather, he said, we have a lot of players with a lot of loads. He's not an exception, but his work rate and his desire are great. The way he trained today, it's as if he wants to play. And some players, when they are in the rhythm, they will continue to do that because they feel better. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, he says there, obviously, it's going to be a very strong squad. I do think he's going to be making changes. I've done my predicted 11, which we'll get to in a second. And it's one that I'm fully expecting to get really, really wrong, because it's so hard to choose what he's going to do. But I do think he will make changes. He'll go strong, but he will make changes. I think he has to make changes for this game. So here's my predicted 11. Right, I've got Neto in goal. He's not made an appearance yet for Arsenal since he's come on loan from Bournemouth. And I just think if he's going to make any appearance, it's going to be in this game. This will be his only chance now to make an appearance for Arsenal. So I think he'll bring Neto in for this one. So I've got Neto in goal. I've gone at the back. I've gone Timber, Saliba, Kivior and Calafiori. I think MLS has played a lot of minutes. I know he only played 43 minutes, whatever it was, but I think he'll play against Manchester City, Myles Lewis-Skelly. So I'm going Calafiori in this one, maybe to get 60 minutes under his belt, which will be the longest he's played since he's come back from injury. So yeah, Neto, Timber, Saliba, Kivior, Calafiori. I think he might rest Gabriel. He'll certainly rest one of Gabriel and Saliba, I think. In midfield, I think he's going to rest Partey and Rice for the game against Manchester City. So I've gone Jorginho, Marino and Odegaard. I very nearly put Ranieri in that position, but I think he'll keep with Odegaard in it. And then I've gone Ranieri, Sterling and Trossard up top as a sort of central false nine. I just think he has to rest Havertz. I won't be shocked if he plays Havertz. I won't be surprised in the slightest if he plays Havertz. But I think you've got to surely rest him in this game. The amount of minutes he's played, the way he looked at the end of the Wolves game. I know he might well be training well, as Mikel said yesterday in that quote I just read out. But still, he needs a breather. He needs to be protected, because if Arsenal lose Kai Havertz right now, with no indication that a new signing is coming in before deadline, we hope it does, but there's no indication yet, certainly at the time of recording this, that a new forward is coming in before the deadline, even though they're trying. There's no guarantees. So you have to protect Havertz, surely, and this is a game you actually can protect him in. So, yeah, I've gone Sterling on the left, Trossard as a sort of false nine, and Nwaneri on the right. So that is my predicted 11 for tonight's game. We've got some of your comments now. Stefan at the top there says Martinelli down the middle, Sterling and Trossard on the wing. So you've gone slightly different to what I've done there, where I had sort of Martinelli on the wing and Trossard central. Nostradamus says no better game to give Neto his debut and possibly only appearance for the club. Yeah, I agree. He said many others should not be starting the game in order to stay fresh for Sunday. So you've got Neto, Partey at right back, Saliba, Kivior, Tierney, Jorginho, Marino, Nwaneri, Lewis-Skelly, Sterling, Butler, Adeji. So you've got Lewis-Skelly as number 10. It's on number 10 role there. Interesting one. Simos Sports World says tough call for the game. Your lineup is Neto, Timber, Kivior, Calafiori, MLS, Jorginho, Marino, Odegaard, Nwaneri, Trossard, and Sterling. I think that's the same forward line I went for, isn't it? Jati says, why don't they play MLS at right back and Calafiori or Tierney at left back? Or they can even play a back four of MLS, Kivior, Calafiori, and Tierney. Couple more here. Aaron says, my 11 for tomorrow or tonight is Neto, Partey, Kivior, Gabriel, MLS, Jorginho, Odegaard, and Marino, Nwaneri, Trossard, and Sterling. It's kind of very similar to my one there. Absolutely essential to rest Havertz and Timber. Aaron says Neto should start as its last chance for a debut. Rice and Martinelli also have a lot of running in minutes lately and should not be starting. Given Saliba's hamstring, I wouldn't risk him either. Playing Sterling on the left might be the last chance to get any benefit out of this loan. It's not working on the right. I agree. I would like to see Sterling on the left. I agree with that. Tata says Neto, Partey, Calafiori, Kivior, Lewis-Skelly, Odegaard, Jorginho, Marino, Nwaneri, Trossard, and Sterling. We have so many players who need to be rested. I literally only put Partey at right back because there's no other choice at right back to rest Timber. Under no circumstances should Kai or Timber be anywhere near that 11 tomorrow. I agree on that, by the way. I absolutely agree, not just on Kai, but on Timber as well. I still have a sneaky feeling that Mikel's going to play him, though. So thank you very much to everyone for your comments. Right, just before we go, moving on to Kieran Tierney, who is over in Girona, and I expect he probably will get some minutes, whether that be from starting or on the subs bench tonight. But Brendan Rodgers was speaking about him in his press conference yesterday before the Celtic match, and he was asked about Tierney and we know there's talks going on and about Tierney. It's certain that he's going to be going there either this month or in the summer. It's looking more likely he'll be in the summer when he's out of contract at Arsenal and he'll be signing a pre-contract to go there. But Rodgers was asked about it, and he did actually speak quite openly about it in a sort of change in what managers normally do. He was asked if he'd rather have Tierney now, and he said ideally it would, but at this moment he's still an Arsenal player. So I think everyone would agree that move will definitely take place in the summer. If we can do it beforehand, then great. I think we'd be prepared. I think that we've prepared that for the summer, and I don't want to speak too much on it with the greatest respect because he's not a Celtic player here and now with us. But if we are able to do it now, of course we would like to do that, but that's out of control at this moment in time. I just don't see why Arsenal would let Kieran Tierney go now, especially if there is a chance that Zinchenko goes. I just think Tierney's going to be really handy between now and the end of the season. He's proven in the last few weeks that he's been really handy, and he looks when he comes on. He looks decent there when he's come onto the pitch, whether that be left back or in that left sort of side role that we've seen him play from time to time recently to help out Arsenal. So, yeah, I'd be keeping him, absolutely be keeping him. I don't think there's any need to be letting him go to Celtic now. The fee's going to be so nominal if you were to let him go now that you just think, well, what's the point? Just, try and get some money for Zinchenko, fine, but keep Tierney at the club. I think he's still got a big part to play between now and the end of the season. Right, and that's it from me, everyone. Thank you very much for your time. As always, like I said, I'll be doing my in-depth reaction show to tonight's game tomorrow morning. So you want to get involved in that, come back after full time to this video, go into the comments, give me your comments and your views on what you've seen from the game, and I'll pull some of them together and get them included in tomorrow's show. Until then, have a fantastic day, everyone. Enjoy the game later, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.